Hey, my name is Anne O'Byrne and I'm a visual artist, originally born in Cork, living in Galway now though for, oh God, 30 odd years more. Um, I suppose my practice started way back um, when I was living in Cork City, but then moved to Clonakilty, County Cork, but I was 12. But I suppose that's when I started my kind of interest in drawing and painting and looking at nature, really, um, and kind of translating that to kind of just small little drawings, little sketchbooks. Um, and that's probably the beginning of my art interest, my interest in the whole art scene. I wouldn't say there's a day, but there was actually, um, because I suppose I was so interested in drawing and painting, I did it for the Leaving Cert. After the Leaving Cert, I kind of thought I was just going to keep it on as just, a hobby as such. But I realised you could actually go to art college. Now, this is back in 1978, I think it was art college I started. So I applied to three art colleges. I actually didn't apply to Dublin. I don't know why. I suppose because I was in Cork. But I applied to Limerick, Waterford, and Cork. Got the three of them, had to decide which one I wanted to go to, and decided I'd go to the Limerick College of Art. So spent a great time in the Limerick College of Art. It was really, really it was a fantastic introduction to art and the real structures of art, I suppose, and putting a bit of structure to my thoughts in that sense. Um, I was always a very conceptual artist in the sense that ideas I would always try and translate maybe very abstract ideas into paint. So I was always a very abstract artist. I never really went out into the landscape drawing kind of hills and mountains and trees. That kind of came later. So art college really suited me in that sense because it was a very conceptual idea, we were working with very conceptual ideas and very, very abstract ideas, which really suited the way I was working kind of at the time. Yeah. It didn't straight away. I headed off traveling for a few years, came back. In the meantime, my parents had moved to Gort, County Galway. I actually didn't really know where it was at the time. I had to look at a map. When I came back, then I moved to Galway. And it was a few years. I think I came to Galway in 1980, 81. And I suppose still painting in my own way all the way along. But then I met a woman, Catherine O'Loughnacon, who was living just a few doors down from me in Rockfield Park. And we kind of got together and we used to do little painting sessions. And at that time, I had two small kids, so I didn't have an awful lot of time for painting. But at that time, Catherine was actually setting up Art Space. It was kind of 83, 84, 85. So I was really interested in that whole process, but I actually wasn't involved in it until later on. So I suppose my very first idea of art space was kind of when Catherine, Kathleen Fury, Marge Van Campen, Ruth McHugh, they were getting together. Now, I didn't know any of the rest of them at that stage, but yeah, it was kind of set up, I think, 84, 85. And so I suppose I didn't join Art Space, and I actually then went back to college in Galway in 2000. And I did the part-time 2 night a week degree course over 6 years. So that really suited me because I was working during the daytime. and it suited that I could do it at night. It was really, yeah, I loved it. And I think because it was over such a long space of time, loved I would love to have had it go on for another 6 years. Whereas a lot of I remember the people in my class were kind of 6 years. How are we going to stand 6 years? But it was actually brilliant because it just it just becomes your lifestyle then, and you just wanted to kind of keep going on, you know. But I really wanted to do the full-time year. So in 2000, in what was it, 2010, I did the full-time honours degree year, which was great because it was you're a little bit more immersed in the whole college scene when you're full-time. When you're part-time, we were kind of coming in at night. The college was half closed, but yet it served its purpose. It was great. It was good to be able to do it. Yeah, no, I probably would have started, yeah, with paint. Yeah, that would have been paint and drawing, pencil, charcoal drawings. But you see, a lot of my concepts, I suppose, are they're yeah. Well, architecture is a huge part of my practice, my interest. I'm really interested in buildings, in structures, in materials that build the structures. The whole idea of shelter, um, uh, houses, homes, a roof over your head. So a lot of my work kind of has to do with shelter and home and buildings and structures. So that exhibition was, I just made these little houses. So they ended up being just squares made out of painted spaghetti, just hung from the ceiling. So I had about maybe 150 of them hung from the ceiling of 126 Gallery. And that concept actually started, I did a residency in the engineering building in the college in 2017, I think, because I had mapped the whole building of that building from start to finish. It started in 2008 and I think it opened in, I don't know, maybe 10 years later, I can't remember. But I videoed and photographed the whole process of that building because I found it really interesting. Did a lot of video pieces about, I have one video piece about the lift shaft being brought into the building, which was a huge metal piece being brought in by a crane. So I have a video piece with a soundtrack of a ballet because it was very balletic, the whole movement of this crane moving this huge piece of metal. So the whole process was great. So when that building actually opened and students started to go in and learn whatever, I wanted to do a residency in there. So I asked, could I do a residency? So I did for 3 months. I was kind of immersed in the whole workings of the engineering building. And one of the projects that the first year students had to do, they had to build a bridge out of spaghetti. And they all built different structures. And then the tutors hung weights on these bridges to see the stress level and see which ones broke and didn't break. And so that just gave me a whole idea of building. I actually built 3 cranes out of spaghetti. I have one big one here, a middle-sized one and a small one. And they're all strands of spaghetti all glued together. Yes, oh yeah, the 3 little, yeah. They're actually photo transfers because the engineering building has these beautiful circular windows. And then when you're going into the engineering building, you have these blue circles on the ground to kind of show you where you're going. So a lot of the forms were circular. So I kind of worked on that a little bit. But yeah. It was actually again Catherine O'Loughlin that was teaching in GTI, and when she retired, I was filling in for some of her classes, and then I was full time. Well, it's just actually 3 times. It's 3 nights a week. So I have an abstract class, I have a beginners class, and I have a continuation class. I'm there now maybe 12 years. But the first a few years, it was really just landscape painting, still life, water, watercolor, oil, acrylic, mixing colors, and just teaching people how to actually use the paints as such. But during COVID, I was thinking, my own work is so abstract and I don't teach abstract. I have to bring in an abstract class, which I did, but that was only just, when was COVID? 2020. So I suppose I'm doing that abstract class now for the last 5 years. And I really enjoy that. But again, I had to kind of learn how to structure a class to teach people something about abstract painting, so you've got to kind of structure your classes. It's a 10-week class or course. So I just formulated a structure that would actually get people into the mindset of painting in an abstract way. And I find that really kind of, I love that class. Yeah, I love the other classes as well, because it brings me back to kind of the real basis of mixing colors, how your brush stroke works, different brushes, how there's different strokes. So it brings it really back to the basics. So they work hand in hand that way, really. I thought that the first time we were in Supermarket Art Fair was 2011. I think I was chairperson at the time, so myself and 3 or 4 others just organised for Art Space to go to Stockholm. So 14 artists produced work for the exhibition, and it was a great success. It was really, really interesting in the sense that you're exhibiting with a lot of different art organisations all around the world. So you really network and you get a lot of different contacts. We brought the work over in suitcases. It was February. The snow was on the ground. We were dragging the suitcases through the snow. It was a really fun and hard work experience, because when you get there, you've got to install your exhibition. You have to stay there for I think it was the week, 5 days, 6 days. But really, really interesting. But the interesting thing about our first trip to Stockholm was that the work was not for sale. We were inviting people to send emails in about the work to say why they liked that work. And then we read the emails, and whatever email we thought kind of suited the work better, we gave that work to that person with no monetary. So we were trying to take the money out of it and just interstice, we called the exhibition, just to try and get that idea of the monetary value out of a work of art, and that it should be something that you actually like to have. And then we were asking why they liked the work. So it just expanded a little bit more than just a very straight monetary exchange. Yeah, it was pleasant, but it is hard work. Yeah, because you do have to work with all the other members of the board and of the community, and it's not always possible to have everybody thinking in the same lines, but it's a rewarding experience, because you are in charge. You're thinking about the funding, you're thinking about the space itself, the upkeep, the maintenance, and then you are also thinking about your next exhibition, so there's a lot to think about. But it's definitely something I think everybody at some stage should do, because it's the background of all art organisations, really. This fundamental, the workings of the organisation, and it's good just to know the ins and outs of that. Yeah. It's something that you kind of have to. It's every year. You're getting, like, we are getting Arts Council funding and Galway City Council funding. So every year there's an application form for both. And it is a trial, but it has to be done, because these studios would not be affordable if we didn't get the funding that we do. And that's the beauty of it, that artists are able to come into the studio, pay our rent, which is it's great in one sense because it is funded so much. So it makes it affordable. And I mean, that's the fundamental thing about art spaces, is that you have a space to work. And that's the bottom line for an artist, is to have some place to work, to leave your work out, to come back, be able to work from there in silence, to get your own headspace going. It's great. It's something worthwhile. Maybe in the like 10 years ago, it was a very, I found my practice very solitary. I was kind of working kind of on my own. Now, you always have the community of the artists here, but then a lot of us are just in our studios working away. We might meet and have a coffee, but then in the last just recent years, I suppose my practice has become a little bit more collaborative, that I'm working with people more, which is a little better in one sense. It's a bit more fulfilling. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, hopefully ArtSpace will continue like it has, in the sense that the spaces will stay. Now, hopefully that the premises will stay. There's talk about the black box. We have studios in the black box as well, that they might be moving, but hopefully will be moving into some other position. But yeah, I see ArtSpace, yeah, continuing as an artist-led institution, in the sense that do we have artist spaces for artists to work. Yeah, I mean, because artists in Galway and we just need more spaces to work in, and it has to continue it for that alone. Yeah, well, Ger was here when I came. I think he had only started a year. I'm here now since 2009. I think he started 2008. Um, and he was our administrator for all of those years. Um, he was great because he had an artistic flair, but he was an accountant in the sense that he was really good at keeping the books, and kept us on the straight and narrow for years. Yeah. There were different things in the latter years, but he was, no, he was fantastic. Yeah. Yeah, he was great at just keeping everything afloat. Yeah.